heart's desires be granted. And we will not forget, 120, I am Oluwa Fubi Bello saying happy Salah.
Now Victor Opune saying happy Children's Day to all the children worldwide. I'm a child here, and of course,
yes, happy Children's Day.
Well, yeah, and I know that yes, all the moments are being subdued because of occurrences across the nation. We trust that, which are hoping the Almighty, everybody will get released pretty soon, and we have an end to everything happening presently. I am Victor Opune, welcoming you right here this morning, and of course. The newspaper review to first latch into.
Of course, we take you through the dailies, and this morning I have the Nigerian Tribune here with me, and on the front page we have a story on page 22. It says, primaries fallout, defeated gubernatorial aspirant, senators, reps, perfect defection rules, and the writer says ADC, NDC, PRP, top list of preferred parties, as Abuja court ruling opens the floodgates. Defections hit Bauchi, Jigawa. All stories on page 22. Tinubu to Nigerians, your sacrifices yielding results. President Akpabio, Atiku, governors, others greet Muslims. Security agencies deploy men in flashpoint. And that story is on page 3. Amechi Hayatuddin protests as Atiku leads in ADC presidential primary election, and that's on page 3. And here we have a wish to all readers of the paper this morning, Baraka de Salah. And on page 6, AFDB to invest $7 billion in newly established Nigerian aircraft leasing company, and that's coming from the federal government. Court dismisses suit seeking to disqualify Jonathan from participating in 2027 polls. Fines plaintiff 21 million naira. Oyo kidnap. DHQ deploys troops, surveillance assets to track perpetrators. The rider says troops killed 317 terrorists, rescued 221 victims in May. Kidnapped Crane IBDC workers regain freedom. That's a sigh of relief, at least this morning. A good news coming from that angle this morning. And lastly, on the front page, we have 7 killed as truck crushes car in Ibadan. And that story is on page 26. Before we move into the inside stories, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point o.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi confirm.
Go transfer. Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure banker. Progress na small wind wey dey carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Go Bible.
Victor, even you dey use money point?
Of course, na use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
With us. Yes, we are still taking you through the dailies, and on the Nigerian Tribune, taking some of the inside stories. On page 6, we have federal government partners launch Choose Me campaign to boost dairy awareness. Court affirms INEC's power to issue election timetable, schedule of activities. Quit if you can protect Nigerians. SDP's Adebayo tells Tinubu over insecurity. Moving on to inside Niger Delta. Cross River begins digital audit of workers, pensioners after decade-long payroll gap. Bayelsa Poly graduates 425 at maiden convocation. And talking of everything woman, one of the hardest realities is understanding that passion alone is not enough. And that's coming from Anicho Stella. Moving on to more stories. 3 suspected kidnappers killed in Gonjoro with security operatives in Oyo. Court sentences Yahoo boy to 20 years imprisonment in Ekiti. Marwa visits injured NDLEA officers in hospital, assures them of justice support. 7 killed as truck crushes car in Ibadan. Children's Day, Nigeria's future in captivity. AGCRF warns, decries student abductions. Future leaders, France shortlist Plateau Governor's aide, Manji. Odidiomo Adekombi, others visit Oyo school attack community. Will refund savings on Medina feeding to our pilgrims, and that's coming from NACON chairman. Salah, federal government slashes train fares by 50%. CCII President General felicitate Muslims on Eid al-Adha, calls for urgent action on insecurity. Atiku leads in ADC presidential primary, all stories on page 28. And moving on to the back page where we have some of the sports stories this morning. Etafia backs Nwabali to bounce back. Ali hails 3SC's return to continental football. World Cup ticket is our target, and that's coming from Harmony. And lastly, we have Unity Cup. Aziz net brace on W sent Nigeria into final. And that's all we have on the Nigeria Tribune this morning. Victor.
I've got the Guardian newspaper this morning, and I've got interesting stories. The first one, Malabo sues federal government over OPL 245, demands 1 trillion naira compensation. Idil Kabir, Tinubu assures Nigerians of better days, urges unity. And on page 19, credits to private sector drops by 15% amid rising political risk. Now to page 6, where opposition parties battle divisions, parallel camps ahead of 2027. On page 29, military kills 317 terrorists as Borno closes school over abduction of 42 students. Now to page 19, healthy diet cost doubles since subsidy removal, and it's 1,541 naira. On page 7, indigenous oil firms, refineries evade Niger Delta cleanup and funding. Now to page 4, INEC disowns political parties' membership figures in 2027 again. Court orders INEC to review election timelines amid appeal. That's a story you find on page 6. Back to page 7. EFCC transfers Maman to Kuje prison to begin 75-year jail term. And now on page 4, importers shunt Nigerian ports for Benin as charges eat 20 million naira. Let's quickly flip into the inside pages and look at what we have on page 2, where Nigeria's housing crisis worsens as deficit nears 28 million units and 12 for what's top 20 fastest growing economies in Africa. Canada and Thailand mandate Ebola quarantine for DR Congo and Uganda arrivals. And on page 3, Children's Day, Atiku canvasses investment in education. Tinubu receives AIM Pius AIM governors in Lagos after primary victory as SDP presidential candidate tells Tinubu, resign if you can't secure Nigerians. Of course, there are more stories out there, but on page 5, Idil Kabir, governors felicitate Muslims, urge peaceful coexistence, prayers, unity. Education stakeholders push for inclusive learning in Nigeria on that same page. And Olubadan decries abductions as NEU stations schools in Orire local government. On page 8, gridlock hits Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over Kara Cattle Markets activities. Ejigbo kidnappers lodged in Lagos for 4 days, says police. Ogun begins safety operation as 3 sustained injuries in truck crash. And residents raise alarm over Sheila boys as police intensify patrols in Adamawa. Commercial bus driver allegedly kills traffic officer in Calabar. And we have the ones on page 9. Police boss motorcycle snatching syndicate in Yobe rescue abandoned baby. Idil Kabir, police FRSC, NSCDC deploy personnel to boost security and curb road crashes in Lagos and Ogun. Mara visits injured NDLEA officers in hospital, assures them of support and justice. Now, going over to what we have on Guardian Tech, operator plans more fiber investments to connect 8 million homes, and group advocates local AI standards for African countries. You find those on page 24. And we have on transport and tourism, $20 billion Guinea ports project set pace for Africa's maritime exports. And on page 29, for Idil Kabir, clerics Muswem urge Nigerians to embrace sacrifice and tackle insecurity. We have this one also. Kano ranked Nigeria's most livable state for families. Cross River placed last, according to an SPM report. And we have Lagos to host fire safety conference and we push for stronger emergency preparedness. Now to Guardian Sports on page 30. After NPFL crown, Enugu Rangers shift attention to CAF Champions League. Ex-Southampton star Victor Udo dies in Abuja under suspicious circumstances. And we have a DR Congo seek World Cup ticket refunds after Ebola outbreak. More athletes may join Team Nigeria, says Ali, as para team returns from Algeria with 49 medals, and all that is ahead of Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. And of course, we have the Dolphin Swimming League to honor champions at Awothe. And of course, Nigeria winning by 2-0 against Zimbabwe at the Unity Cup in England yesterday, including plenty of debutants, especially those from the NPFL. And that's as much as we can take right here on the newspaper review segment this morning. And of course, we go on for weather report about now. We'll return shortly after.
hands wrapped around you in a warm embrace, asking,
"What for lunch, Mommy?"
So me and Kuka. It's in the coming from me, Gida. Why the foreign a delicious plate of me and Kuka.
this miyokuka is very delicious.
Super Multivitamin Active Teens. Super Multivitamin Active Teens. Shine on.
All right, thank you very much for joining us right here on the interview segment as we discuss something that is very important to us at this point in time. Now, there's a reason why our celebrations have been somewhat muted across Europe, and especially because something that we thought was not going to actually disturb us too much is now right here in our very faces, and it's been affecting us. And now this morning we are having a conversation about the rising terror attacks in Yoruba land. Matters are rising. And of course, it's been very interesting to note the efforts of both the federal government and the state government in ensuring that we have some of those abducted, returned, and of course, the families of those who have been lost, repatriated right there. And this morning, to join us in the conversation and shed more light on everything that has been happening, both the issues right there from the Orire local government area to the happenings around Idianyure, and also to the Ogumosho abductions that we saw. We have a forensic and security expert right here, Dr. Adewale Ayedu, joining us in the conversation this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, bro.
And happy celebrations.
Thank you very much.
Well, double celebrations today. We have the Eid al-Kabir, we have the Children's Day. But it's a time where people are reminded of children in captivity who should be enjoying the warmth of their houses and their parents' care. But it is not happening. What do you see about all of these happenings, especially in recent times in Yoruba land?
Thank you very much. You see, it's teaching times saves 9. That was in those days. Saves million. If what we have been agitating for has been taken care of proactively, all this kind of thing will not happen. Everything boils down to systemic failure. Because we've been making note that these people are coming southward, especially southwest, but nothing happens. What are the duties of the chairman of local governments, the DSS, the police, the military intelligence, all those people? What are their duties? They are taking salaries from the government every month. What happened? So systemic failure is what causes all this kind of thing. We're supposed to nip it bud before escalation. But nothing is happening. So we only use fire brigade approach. When things happen, we started running up and down. Whereas they're supposed to have, discrete investigation, surveillance, intelligence gathering before now. There's no local government in Nigeria that doesn't have DSS office. No, 774 local government, all of them have DSS office. What are their reports concerning this kind of thing? In those days, we had Otelemuyes and all that. Where is the Otelemuyes? You can only see policemen collecting 15 naira on the road. Even if you are carrying gun, you go scot-free. If you are a ritualist, you go scot-free. So things is total system collapse. But God will help us.
But in the same vein, we have seen policemen and security officials actually apprehending kidnap suspects in this same time?
After they have carried out their crime.
They have worked on intelligence. According to what they have told us over time, they have worked on intelligence. And also, this morning, we also followed through on a story as the headline, where military killed 317 terrorists. And, it's something that brings some respite for so many people, talking about the fact that they are responding to it as well. And some people will say it's not a thing that you can quench in a day because of the ideology.
Why can't you quench it before it even happens? That is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about what happened afterwards, after the crime has been committed. I'm not talking about that. To prevent it, prevention is better than cure. That's what the adage says. Why not prevent? Why not gather adequate intelligence to know what will happen? That's why I said it's systemic failure. I still repeat, no local government in Nigeria does not have DSS office.
So what really incapacitated, in your own view, as a security expert, what do you think tied the hands of all these intelligence officers?
Nothing ties their hands if you are interested in the job. But the thing is, our system of recruitment into all this kind of job, the jobs are given to their children, not those who are willingly want to do the job. When you have passion for something, you have motivation to back it up, that you want to do this job. It's different from just giving a list. Go and give it to Mr. Alabaja, he will give you appointment. That's the problem we have. So it's systemic collapse. If 200 people, took examination for entrance into any organization now, those who did not participate in the recruitment exercise will be employed. Like the police now, you see people, in those days, you will be screened. You will be screened properly. But nowadays, you see note.
But
talking of recruitment, I mean, that's not a fact. Talking about, bringing those who are not qualified.
Yes.
I mean, that's not a fact.
I'm not saying they are not qualified now. But are they screened? What of profiling? Do you provide those people you are employing?
Doctor, you would agree with me that all what you said is still allegedly.
It's not alleged. I've said it that it's systemic failure.
Okay.
What happened?
But then, would you say that is the major cause of that? Because I think a lot more people are looking more at the welfare of our military.
My brother, forget about all this welfare thing. If you are passionate for this job, welfare will not be in the forefront. Patriotism first.
All right, doctor.
Please, let me go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
With this. You see, someone is paying interest or running costs, salaries for all these officers on a monthly basis. While you are paying security votes for the governors, for the chairman of local government, have you asked them what they are doing with the security votes? What was the result? Because I cannot pay you to secure this place and a thief will come in and do something. And I will not ask you, where were you been? Where were you when this thing are happening? That's why I said systemic failure. It's not one person. It's a conglomerate. When you combine so many factors that led to one certain event.
All right, doctor, before we, look at all those factors, I mean, just as you stated, let's take it back again in the last 1 week. Okay. Looking at the abduction cases we've had in Nigeria so far, I mean, these are cases that are reported, not to talk of those that we did not even hear of, especially in the north, northeast, north central. Last week, Friday, we heard that 15 people were abducted in Kwara State and 3 people were killed. On Monday, still last week, 12 people were abducted in Ondo State. They were coming from, I think, Benue to Ibadan. And when they got to Ondo State, they were abducted. But luckily, they were rescued. On Monday, we heard of another abduction in Kwara State, burning down Emia's Palace, abducting over 10 people. Okay. And, like that. We also saw a video in Ekiti State. Of course, we've heard of series of kidnappings happening in Ogun. And then last week, we also saw a video of school children that were told to go home because they noticed, strange people in quote, terrorists around them. Yesterday, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, directed the immediate deployment of special forces and aerial surveillance assets to Oyo State following the recent kidnappings in Orire local government. Would you say that was a proactive measure? Let's also bear in mind, today is the 12th day after the kidnapping. Would you say that was a proactive, measure?
To me, it's not. Because we've had series of security reports that these terrorists are coming southward for over a year now. Now they are now deploying assets when the incidents are happening everywhere. You get what I'm saying? We are not proactive enough. We are only comfortable with what we can get from the government or what we can get from Nigeria. It's wrong. There should be discreet investigation, intelligence gathering that will give you information before it happens. That is what I'm saying. You see, you are recruiting people, you have Boko Haram that you are arrested. You said that they have repented after maybe 3 months or 6 months. Is it possible? That is one of the failure. You recruit them back to the police or the military. Are they not going to be selling information? Let's look at it holistically. The system has failed completely.
Talking of the movement now of these terrorists, I remember when, it was like the peak of it, I think 2 years ago thereabout, also last year, we were talking about mining in the north. Okay, they were after the lithium, they were after gold, they were after some, natural resources we have here in Nigeria. But looking at the movement now, I'm talking of the recent attacks we're experiencing in Yoruba land. What exactly are we going to say they are after here? Or what exactly are we going to say, they are looking for, or they want to come and claim here?
Thank you. Because of the failure of our security architectures, kidnapping has become a veritable business now that can generate quick fund. That's why you see most people. It's not the Fulani alone that are doing it. Even our people are collaborating. You heard what the police said, that the one that happened at Orire, that some of our people are giving them information. If you have adequate intelligence gathering in that area, it won't happen. They won't be able to carry out, because you will know, you will discover, you will see through their movement, through their conversation, through everything. You gather it, not after things have happened. No, before. You gather the information, then you analyze it, then act. But nothing is happening. The chairman of the local government is there. He's earning security food. What has he done with it? You have Bale, you have the vigilantes there. Do you encourage them?
Do you think that at some point, because you mentioned the vigilantes and the people within the community, do you think at some point it's because we have not harnessed the usage of those people properly?
Yes. I am an advocate of localizing your security. I'm an advocate. Because they are the one who knows the terrain, who knows their people. If you see stranger, they will know. They can identify stranger. They can identify any movement that is not in consonance with their behavior in that area. But they did not employ them. They did not use them. They are paying stipend to the ballers. What road do you want them to pay? To pay? They pay them monthly. But what road have you given to them? They are the head of their area. They're supposed to be the chief security officer of their community.
When you say what role have they given them to play? What role are they supposed to give them to play? Especially where we have
security-wise.
When we have issues like this, do you have to start assigning people? When we have leaders in a community, sometimes don't you think, okay, they should use their natural instincts to also say, I am going to stand up to the situation? Do they need the government to come out to tell them, you have to be in charge of this, you have to take charge of this?
Let me give you an insight. Something happened in Saying. Sometimes maybe last year or a year before, they arrested some Fulani terrorists. They call Amateku. Do you know that they detained those Amateku?
Why is that?
Because the Fulani people have upper hand. Which Bale want himself to be detained. You see, there is no synergy in our security system. They should form a collaborative something that will help.
Okay, Doctor, we'll go right to the synergy and the collaborations that we expect within our security architecture. But for now, let's quickly take this commercial break and then we'll be right back.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to New Kingdom, guys.
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Home. It's where the aroma begins its joyful parade.
Hearts and bellies filled with
Sizzling beef stew, smoky jollof and chicken, efforiro with better cow leg.
delicious afang. Correct nkwobi made with hunger. Amala, gbegiri and ewedu.
Abula you mean? Pepper soup, correct banga and starch with fresh fish.
It's up to architect Bisola and builder Brian to rebuild the city.
We'll need some help. Let's get up and go!
You'll need more cowbell choco to complete your mission.
To get them go, give them cowbell choco.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We're still on the conversation, rising terror attacks in Yoruba land, matters arising. And we still have Dr. Adewale Ayedunrachi here with us, a forensic and security expert. And you were on to that view about synergy, collaborations. Now, before that, we spoke about the localized security and their usage. Just recently, we had Sunday Igboho. We know his exploits back then. And right now, there's this trending conversation about the presidency approving a security network. That's an Iruekun security network. How well do you fancy this security network coming into play, knowing how he has worked in time past, in collaboration with the Amotekun that we have on ground, the Vigilante, all the other local security outfits that we have seen, and then the Nigerian police and the army?
Thank you. You see, all these weapons, most of their power they believe they have is not because you're carrying gun. All these terrorists that are attacking people, they believe in the gun. Without the gun, they cannot do anything. That's why this kind of weapon, vigilante or something, or the local hunters, they are the best to be applied at this. Even in the north, you have civilian JTF because they can face those people with their gun. They have the knowledge of the area. They know the terrain. They know everything. Even where they can, it's like in the bush. Where if you see one animal here, where you will run to, you look. If you have been conversant with those areas, so they are. I think it's okay. The government can give them regulate their activities, so that they won't come back and be a menace to us.
I think that regulation is one key part as well.
Of course.
But let's look at some cases now. When I think it was just about a few days ago, when there was a viral video that in a certain community, the vigilantes in the area caught some terrorists who had come to terrorize the community with their voodoo now, and they neutralized them.
You call it voodoo?
Well, it's the English word for it. So, they said those ones came in, the terrorists came in, and they fell asleep.
Yeah.
But then, what is the process that comes right after? Knowing fully well that there are conversations around rehabilitating repentance. So if the voodoo, for instance, caught those ones and they handed them over to the security, and then months later, you are saying that the same people that the voodoo courts, they said they repented.
You see,
what is the feedback?
In Yoruba land, they say gbogbo aṣọ kọ́là ń sá lóòrùn. Àìdẹ́ múlẹ̀ ká má yan. Yoruba, that's Yoruba for you. Àìmúlẹ̀ ká má yan. I will not elaborate. Someone like that, they will not go scot-free. Maybe after some days or months. So forget about repentance or whatever. That is the language of the north, not the southwest here. Anyone that is caught here, just know. Whether they take the person to police or to anywhere, they will mark the person.
But we have a curious case of some things that happened in the north, happening also down south here recently. Kesin and Sheyi Gumi's statements about terrorists and bandits being our brothers, and we must coexist with
His
them.
own brother, not our brother.
Well, that is what it's saying. Now we have on video a cleric right here in Oyo State saying something similar and saying if you do anything about this, then something. You know, those are statements that we are seeing in the south nowadays.
Thank you. Do you know the way those clerics operate? They are beggars. They collect money everywhere. Even from the devil, they collect money. So they can say anything. I don't believe them. I don't even reckon with them.
But are such statements, you know, going about your followers?
Well, let the government continue to watch them. If they have freedom to speak anyhow. In this kind of situation, we find ourselves. Someone is talking rubbish and government is looking at the person because of religion. I don't believe in all this religious until. Because if there is a problem, you can't go to church or go to mosque. We have seen a situation where terrorists go to the mosque and kill them. They go to churches and kill them. So forget about religions. This kind of situation we find ourselves. Every one of us should have the first line of defense. First line of defense. That is what I will advocate for everybody. And the DSS Director General said it too. That every community should have a first line of defense.
So each community should come up with their own security
outfit
or vigilante group.
Or whatever. It may not be vigilante. They know what they can do to secure the area if there's any attack. All of us should go and do that. Government cannot do everything for us. Because those people in the military, the police, the soldiers, or whatever we call them, they are still part of this community. So go and defend your community. Let's have first line of defense first, before anything. Even before the arrival of police, a lot of things might have happened. So
we've said so much. We talk about the federal government, the state government also, you know, responsibilities and all. But we do not lay so much emphasis on the local government, considering the fact that they are also, you know, at that grassroots
In fact,
level
they are the ones nearer to
with the people. Yes. So at this point now, should the people also start holding their local government chairman, you know, accountable for every incident or every of such kidnap incidents, abductions that happen in such communities?
If I can go down to the Baales and Mangajis in those communities, you know, the chairman is even above them, and he's the one paying the market. What is he doing with the security allowance that he's collecting every month? Let's ask him now. It's not something that they use for contribution or whatever. What is he doing with it? Let's ask them. Ask the governors. What have you been doing with our security folk? I just don't want to talk too much because there are a lot of things that we can say, but we can't say it because this is a government television. If it is a private, we will talk.
Looking at the infiltration of, you know, these bandits still in the southwest, we talked about how, you know, the southwest governors have not been proactive enough. But talking of Amotekun now, I know we are talking about state policing, which is still, you know, I would say in discussion, which is not supposed to be, considering the fact that we are having so much, you know, the surge in insecurity. But talking of Amotekun, let's rate their activities, you know, in the last few months in the southwest. and how they've been able to prevent, because sometimes we play on the highway, we see them stationed. They've been coming through for people in terms of, engagement with the people at the grassroots, with the people in the community.
Yes.
What do we still expect them to do so far, especially now that we are recording abduction now in the Southwest?
The governor should prevail on the president, our president, that what qualifies cattle herders to get AK-47 and Amatekun, regulated by government, cannot get gun, good automatic weapon. Our government should prevail. They should tell the representative, the senator, the House of Rep, tell them go to the president that we are done here. Give us approval for weapon. If Cow Riara can get AK-47, AK-49, I mean, this kind of what do they call this one in the north? They have weapons too, but our own cannot. You know that we are saying we are operating one constitution. So what will happen is that, or not until all of us join together to believe in Nigeria that this is our country. We don't have any other country. Let us work towards peaceful coexistence. Let us work about our security. You see, things are happening. The people that are committing this crime, they are not from heaven. They are part of us. But who is profiling them? Who is monitoring their activities? Someone will just pack a trailer load of miscreant from the north, dump it in Ibadan. Nobody say anything.
But why have they found Nigeria as a safe haven?
Because they know that we only approach issue fire brigade system. We are not proactive. That's why. If we are proactive, in those days, people who confront Buhari when Buhari was alive, when he's saying that Nigerian border is open, that they will give them visa on arrival. To where? To where? He said the northern people should come to the south, that Nigeria is Nigeria. To where? We want a stranger to come to my father's compound. And I will not challenge him. Let him come.
I mean, when we have people moving from one part of the nation to another part, there is freedom of movement.
There's freedom of movement, but you can't say you have freedom of movement, you stay in my father's farm in the bush. You are not within the town where I can see you, where I can know your activities, and nothing is happening. How can you hibernate in the bush and say you are part of me, that you are my neighbor? Neighbor for where? Government is looking at these people. They are not doing anything.
Now, Doctor, let's look at something differently now. There's a peculiarity with some of the areas that we are seeing consistent banditry and terror attacks in the Southwest, especially. And that's an expanse of land that is unmanned.
Yes.
And people have pointed out, like the old National Oyo Park now, one of those cases. And people have been saying for a while, I think for over a year now, people have been mentioning that all those forest areas in the Southwest especially, we need to have them put to good use. Maybe that will curb their activities. I think it's a two-way blessing, and it could help the economy as well as the security outfit. But I don't know, why is the government not looking at this yet?
Even if they did not put it, because they are in use, as you see that old Oyo Park, afforestation and all that, they are still helping the ecology. They cannot just open everywhere. But they've heard that these people are coming from Niger, Kwara, down south, through River Niger area. They have crossed River Niger to this side. What have we done to prevent their coming to our environment? The criminals that are hibernating in that bush. We heard that they are coming. We did not do anything to prevent them. Now they have spread here. It does depend on our action. If we supposed to ask A and we refuse to ask, we are now acted in Z. It will result in the same failure.
All right, Doctor, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Home. A shared moment lived in the now.
Home. It's when concussion rice comes to the rescue, when your homies arrive for sports night or girls hangout.
Home is the moment we live and what's in the pot. After all, what's home without food?
That's why we say, let's go home. There's food at home.
Still talking about, the invasion of terrorists into the southwest, talking of the Yoruba land. A doctor, before, we call it a wrap on this particular segment this morning, and let's talk about the people. We hear of, people will come out and say, we heard about this. We heard rumors. We heard there was a notice. There was a message sent. There was a letter sent. And at the end of the day, people do not take it seriously. Now, is it because they do not trust the security operatives that they are supposed to, take those messages to, or they just refer to it as simply rumors?
No, not that. You see, in those days when you travel, you arrive late into a town. Your first place to go is the police station. Can you do that today? With your whole heart, can you go to police station today and report that you came to you want to stay here till daybreak? They will not allow you. Even if they allow you, you are in trouble. Things have changed, turned upside down, because our system have failed. Our relationship failed. Our activities, our responsibility, we have neglected it. That's the problem. So, if you are now talking about how to do everything that will bring back the lost glory, we need to sit down and reappraise our ways.
Doctor, what exactly do you think is the root cause of this whole thing? Because we have pointed out different things, and we are looking at several underlying factors. But what do you think are the root factors as to why we are not one? We are feeling like we cannot coexist peacefully, and we keep having these issues of violent attacks.
Thank you. We can coexist peacefully, but all of us must follow our role, the role that we are expected to play. We must play it. We must be allegiant to the country we are. Because if someone say, because I'm a Igbo, I will not protect a Yoruba, then there's no love. There will be mistrust. But like the people coming from, you come from Ibadan here, go to the north, and say you go to their bush and become a kidnapper. Is it possible? It's not possible. Why is it possible here? Why is it so easy here to come here and kidnap people? Why is it possible here to enter into our bush and stay there? And someone will be claiming that is within Nigeria, you can move anywhere. Is it possible? Can you go to their home farm there without authorization, start living in their bushes? It's not possible. Why are we using double standard? But the problem we have is, even the government itself, they have problem in the sense that, like the criminal law now, they are using penal code in the north here, criminal code in Nigeria. Why two different laws? No, they are saying the same thing. There's a lot of similarity, but two laws for criminals in Nigeria, in this same country, but we have one constitution. Now they will prepare the constitution at the National Assembly. Someone will start clause because of his ethnic people to favor them.
So now, when several years back, the former president of this country, Goodluck Jonathan, said some of the people coordinating, sponsoring the Boko Haram, the terrorists terrorizing at that time, were in his cabinet and he knew them, it sounded strange to us. But then we have seen repeated, fingers pointing at some certain individuals who are still in power as being sponsors, having good relationship with these terrorists. How do we answer to that as an agenda?
Thank you. When I said at the beginning of this interview that we have a systemic failure, we were all alive when Ribadu went on national television, that they brought all these foreigners into Nigeria so that Buhari can win election. It's the same Ribadu that now handed over the security of Nigeria to now. Matawale, that has been a sympathizer of terrorists, is now the deputy defense minister in Nigeria here. Nothing happens. You get what I'm saying? It is the same Ribadu that gave those people that were arrested around of the other time with AK-47, these Fulani people. He approved AK-47 for them. But our farmer here cannot carry dengue. Have we not failed ourselves? There is no other person that can handle security than those people. That is the problem. When
But then, Doctor, when they were campaigning for this present president, a lot of people in the Southwest felt the son of the soil going in there would represent the best interests of the Southwest. But here we are, and these violent attacks are eating the Southwest every day. What exactly is happening?
Don't look at it one way. Don't look at it one way. It may be to sabotage his government. But he himself, has he aligned with us?
But he's the one appointing some of those people you mentioned.
And now, even before he got there, he has not sympathized with all the problems that are happening here. Even the establishment of Amateku, Lagos State did not get Amateku up till today. Up till the time of speaking here. Because they did not support it. He was supposed to be the first person to support it. But he did not. When they killed people at Tollgate in Lagos, has he supported it? He did not say anything.
Doctor, before we call it a wrap on this segment this morning, let's look at the, response of the state governors, talking of the Southwest now. How do you think, are you optimistic that their response so far can reduce this threat drastically?
I'm not castigating anybody. But we heard that Oyo State has surveillance camera, aircraft, lying down in Lagos. Not until something happened at Orire that we heard that Oyo State has a 7 billion something aircraft that can do surveillance in those areas. Is that part of the activity that is worth mentioning? Let's pray so that our election is coming. We should pray very well and know the kind of people that are going to be. The present government are working, they are doing great job, but there's still room for more.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Adewale Ayedun, a forensic and security expert who has been speaking to us about the rising terror attacks in Yoruba land matters arising. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's a pleasure to have you speak to on this conversation this morning. We'll be right back with our second guest after this break. Please stay with us.
Home. It's in the welcoming little hands wrapped around.
Yes, it's still AM120, and we are still talking about the terror attack, a rising terror attack in Yoruba land, matters arising. We have a second guest here in the studio with us. He is Comrade Jare Ajayi, the National Publicity Secretary of Inferi. Comrade, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And well, a compliment of the season, yes. Baraka de Salah.
Baraka de Salah. Thank you so much, comrade. Let's start with the report that circulated a few days ago, talking of, the monies that were being paid as ransom in Nigeria. 2.2 million kidnappings have occurred, have been recorded in Nigeria, and 2.2 trillion naira has been said to be paid as ransom. What do you make of that report? Let's start with that.
Well, quite frankly, I find it difficult to get adequate words to describe that kind of thing. Yeah, in businesses over the years, organizations always come out to say in a given year, in a given period, we have this business transaction of XYZ amount of money, so much for profit, so much for gross and net, and all that and all that. How can we now say that in kidnapping business, this is the kind of turnover that we are getting?
In a year, let's put bear that in mind.
Oh, okay, in a year.
Yes.
Interesting. Not from the very
period. No, in a year, just within the last 12 months.
It's mind-boggling, to put it mildly. It's condemnable. It's something that, because it's already a reality with us, I would just say that, let us think it that it's not something that's supposed to happen. That kind of quantum amount of money to be directed into productive thing. Because of the time that we may have, we probably just say it is disturbing. It shouldn't have happened. So that we'll be able to spend more quality time on what is on ground. Part of it is what you have said, but to be talking, analyzing the financial transaction may not give us the opportunity to be able to examine what's on ground and what is the way out. Be able to find solution to what's on ground.
But comrade, we have to analyze from a different angle because there's something that is making this thing thrive, especially now that it's thriving in the Southwest, our own land, where we thought we would not have these occurrences. But now, in the last few months especially, it's all up in our faces and it looks like we cannot get out of it anytime soon.
Yeah, so what's the question there?
So I'm asking now, what do you think has made that economy thrive?
Okay.
Because the number of occurrences is, like you said, mind-boggling. Yeah. The amounts paid, the amounts that they demand so bravely. Before we would think it was just little amounts, but now look at the exorbitant amounts. We've seen people going on video saying they demanded 100 million from them. Where are people supposed to see 100 million?
Okay, just before coming on set, I was going through some publications. There's a report that a young man who was a former special advisor to the Katsina State government, Katsina State governor on community development. That was the office he held. Resigned and obtained form to contest for the House of Assembly of that state. They were on May 13th, this very year, just a few days ago. A boy in his vicinity, in the vicinity of the person aspiring to become a member of the legislature, was kidnapped. The kidnappers demanded for 50 million naira ransom. As you have said, it was eventually it was negotiated to 70 million. The money was paid. A few days after, luckily, the security people were able to nab the kidnappers or the suspect. On investigation, some of the suspects named when they were confessing, they mentioned the name of this person. Named Nuru Aliyu Garwa in Katsina State. On investigation, they found 7.5 million naira in his house, which was considered as his own share of the 70 million naira that was obtained. This is a person aspiring to, first of all, he was special advisor on community development. Note that. Second, he was now aspiring to become a legislator. Supposing he was not exposed, he contested the election he won and he became member of the House of Assembly in that state. It means that those bandits also have another powerful person in government, in the legislative arm of government, quite all right. But then from there, he can move on to arm. Why did I bring that up? First, is to further illustrate one point you raised, which has to do with the financial aspect of it. Second, so he was using that one to be able to raise money to contest election. You consider that's one aspect. The other one, and which is more important, and it's something Afenifere has only been hammering upon for the past 2-3 years, that this thing is thriving because one, apart from the fact that they have turned it into commercial activity, is also thriving because they are powerful people from within, and of course, the echelons of those who are supposed to take care of our interests, who are financing it, backing it up. I mean, that's an instance. So, the summary of what I'm trying to say, by way of answering your question, is that it's thriving not just because they have turned it into a business, lucrative business for that matter, but also because there are powerful people, behind it.
All right, looking at, Afenifere as a social-cultural group, and of course, a group that stands for
Yoruba interest, yes.
The Yoruba interest. And of course, looking at some of the objectives, talking about defense of democratic values, human rights, and the rule of law. Yeah. We have seen the infiltration of these terrorists into the Southwest.
Yeah.
There were a lot of, noise. There were a lot of talks before it eventually infiltrated Southwest. See, so far, what has Afenifere as a group done, to help the Yoruba land, protection of people, basically in Yoruba land?
Yeah, well, as is known, Afenifere is a non-state actor. By non-state actor, we mean an organization that is non-governmental. We do not have a standing army. We don't have a police. We don't have all the apparatus that can be used to repel violence, to repel banditry and all that. It is the moral situation that we have, basically. So what we normally do is to deploy that moral situation, that the leverage that we have, One, to call the attention of those who the Constitution gave the power to deploy state apparatus to deal with that kind of situation. We call their attention to such things so that even before they happen, those who have that power will be able to, deal with it, nip it in the bud before it became, before it transformed into reality and, of course, wreak havoc. And sometimes when it has happened, like one that occurred in Uriri local government, or even when the 5 forest guards were killed in January in the same Uriri local government, what we normally do in our affair is that when it has happened, we call attention and draw inferences that because this has happened, there may be a possibility of a recurrence or a replica of it.
Do you wait until issues like that happen before you act?
No, that means that you didn't take note of what I said before I got to that point. I say we normally call attention of those who should act to such things so that they will be able to nip it in the bud before it happens. And when it has happened too, we don't just keep quiet and say, well, it has happened and resign it to fit. No, we don't. We also say that, well, look, remember, we said that there may be a possibility, because we don't have the necessary wherewithal to be able to spot where some things may happen. We may not be able to be exact, because it's only the government agencies that have that kind of facility as well as the power and the authority to be able to do it. But when we sniff something, when you do some permutations, and then Afenifere is the apex social-cultural organization in Yoruba land that takes self-interest of Yoruba race. There are many organizations in the Yoruba nation, as you may want to call it. Just as there are some individuals who are privy to certain information, and they normally make such information available to Afenifere. So we use those things, we do the permutations and be able to say that, look, because X, Y, for example, when that of Uriri happened in January this year, we felt that, based on information available to us, that those forest guards were killed, but they were not the main target. They were killed because they were considered as obstacles. We felt that it was the intention of those who are behind that killing to attack, to get into the communities around that area. But those forest guards were sort of blocking them, constituting obstacles, defending those communities. So for them to be able to reach their target, they need to, do away with those ones, and that's what they did. So we said that, look, since this thing has happened, don't just resign to fate and say it's over. Yes, give compensation, you do all that, but it goes beyond that. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And the unfortunate thing was that, remember, even immediately a week or two after, they sent notice in English and Yoruba communities to say that they may come. And eventually they came. So what we are doing is not rock science. Remember, on November 24, 2025, governors in Yoruba land, governors in the 6 states, conferred here in Ibadan. Our governor, Governor Shima Kide, was the host. And the meeting was basically on security issues. After that, a month or two after, the state government established what they call a CCTV control, in which case they said that they were able to navigate, to be able to control, to monitor what's going on security-wise across the states. Yet, in spite of all these things, we are still experiencing.
So what do you think is the main reason why we are still experiencing this? I mean, just as you said, some state governments have already put measures in place. But beyond those measures, do you really think we are not tackling it head on? We are not facing the real issue. Talking of our borders, we have unmanned areas, a lot of unmanned areas in the southwest, where so many, states that have borders with some of these affected.
Talking about porous borders.
With some of these affected communities, affected states. Let's look at Kwara, for instance. Sharing borders with a lot of, states in southwest. Let's also look at Niger State, also as an example. Do you think our governors were not proactive enough? Is it an issue of medicine after death?
Well, quite a few things are related, but all boiling down to government shirking, in its responsibilities. Remember, Section 14 of the Constitution, subsection 2B, says that the primary duty, the primary task or responsibility of government, the welfare, security and welfare of the people. So, but in this particular case, welfare was what we've been talking about before, because our welfare has not been properly taken off the way it should be. But now, because security has to be life, it's a person who is alive who will now enjoy maybe good electricity, supply of water, health, and all that. So it now we have now reduced the situation to a getting of please let us even survive. That is the issue of security. Even in that one, government has not lived up to expectation. Now, concerning the issue you raised, there is something they call deterrence. I think when we are parents, we are bringing up our child. When they misbehave, we normally scold them, rebuke them, sometimes punish them. Not necessarily because we don't like them, because we know that if they continue along that line, it's not a proper way to go. So we serve warning, sometimes sanction, sometimes punishment to deter them and the other ones in the family so that they don't go astray. There is no society that don't have criminal elements, criminal tendencies or elements. What makes the difference between these societies that are considered as orderly, crime-free, or very where there is low rate of criminality is the attitude of that society, of this government in this particular case, such that when suspects were seen, apprehended, they are properly tried, properly executed, and appropriate measure of punishment is carried out. To use the example, in this particular case, what I mean is this. Because when this thing first started, government treated them as, with kid gloves. Necessary, adequate punishment were not meted out of them. So they were growing wings. See, the one that we are experiencing right here now in Oyo State, the one that happened in Owerri local government, it's just now I'm hearing that the office of the chief of defense staffs deploy army detachment to the area to go on. This is about, it's going to about more than 12 days now.
Today's the 12th day.
12th day, that's it. They call something quick response. Where has that been? We recall that when there was this coup in Ivory Coast, within 12 hours, the president of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, deployed the Air Force to that country to go and rescue that administration so that the military won't take over the country. So now we're talking about, I said between 12 hours. We are here now, we're talking of 12 days. Why did it take us do this long before we can do this? Imagine what those abductees will be going through in that bush.
Now, comrade, let's look at this. You mentioned something, the peculiarities of when this whole thing started.
Yeah.
Up north, a lot of people felt, it was going to maybe thrive there because of the armageries, the system they run, and all of that there. Now it's coming to our very homes here in the heart of Yoruba land, deep in the heart of Yoruba land. At a time where we have a Yoruba president, what exactly has the Yoruba community been feeling at as a whole that is making it easier for those people? Maybe there's something that we used to do before that we stopped doing. Maybe there's something that we should have been doing as a people in Yoruba land that we have not seen Yoruba land do.
Well, there are quite a number of issues involved here. First, in terms of why the thing is now getting to our place, and even they are being unfortunate. We should not reduce it only to the ransom importing. There is the element of foreign interest in this matter. Interest that have eyes on the solid minerals in our land. For example, lithium have been discovered to exist in the northern part of Oyo State, specifically Igbeti-Kishi axis that borders Kwara State. That is in Baruto-Kayama local government. And this is the area where this thing is now prevalent. Remember, just about 2 days ago, they invaded the palace of Yashkira village, abducted the wives of the ruler there, and some of the family members. He himself probably, escaped because well, by whiskers. Now, before this kind of resources were seen and now being mined, many of them illegally, according to government. Because if they are being mined legally, there will be proper structure. Those who are, for example, in the south, where crude oil is being explored and it's being turned into economic assets. You don't see this kind of thing happening there. It's also a solid. It's also a mineral resource. So it's regulated, properly regulated. Why can't that happen? And there have been some arrests made, but where some people, particularly the Chinese, were apprehended as suspects in this kind of situation. So what I'm saying, and there have been unconfirmed report too, that helicopters were seen supplying food as well as weapons to those people, bandits in the bush. A hashtag bandit cannot afford that all kind of thing. So it has that
international
element.
Let's hold it here because we have to pay these commercial bills, and then we'll come back right to the same conversation.
Oh, all right.
Because I understand that you still have some.
Yes, thank you.
Home. It's in the welcoming little hands wrapped around you in warm embrace, asking,
What for lunch, Mommy?
So me and Kuka. It's in the coming from me, Gida. While the foreign a delicious plate of me and Kuka.
This Myokuka is very delicious.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We're still in the conversation, rising terror attacks in the Yoruba land. Matters are rising, and we have the National Publicity Secretary of Afenifere, Comrade Jare Ajayi, right here with us. And yes, you were onto something. When you are, adding those beats to it, I think I would also like to add this so that maybe you would be able to, connect it together. Several years back, the late General Sani Abacha said insecurity issues does not thrive in an area for long without the knowledge of the government on it, without the knowledge of the powers that be on that particular insecurity issue in that particular area. And when you spoke about illegal mining, I wanted to ask, because when you see civilians doing some things, you feel government surely knows that this person is doing this. Even before it takes long, you have security operatives around that area. But then, how can you tell me that there's been illegal mining for quite a while and it's been thriving and the government does not know about it?
I never said the government does not
No,
know
I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying you said that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, because it's the feeling that a lot of people have now, that when we see the federal government and some state governments coming out to say illegal mining has been there and they are only starting to put regulations to it, how did it thrive for so long and nothing was done about it?
Yeah. In the first place, we will remember that there is a Ministry of Solid Mineral Resources, which means government recognizes the importance of it to the extent of even creating a whole ministry to take care. When you're traveling between Oife and Elisha, down towards Ondo State, you see people there digging, the ground left and right.
I saw them recently.
Oh, beautiful. Because I was in Akure. I go to Akure regularly since that's where our leader, Ruben Fashion, lives. He turned 100 years just about 2 weeks ago. We thank glorify God for that. Now, even if government didn't have intelligence, the fact that we saw those people, what they are doing right and left on the road is not farming. They are digging the ground. They must be digging it for something. I happened to be at a meeting with some people from Zamfara State about less than 2 weeks ago. We had this say that when you recall that United Arab Emirates, UAE, Dubai, is a place where some of those precious stones are being sold, are being treated on. that when you take it to that place you want to sell, they normally ask, if it's coming from Nigeria, they normally ask whether the person bringing it is known by a particular person. They mention the person's name, but I will not mention it on here now. And he's a powerful person in the government. So, I remember, as far back as maybe 2011, 2012 or something, former President Jonathan said that there are Boko Haram in his government. And when President Muhammad Buhari came on, there was no reason. We didn't have the evidence or a situation suggesting that such people have been weeded out of that particular administration. So, which means also that probably the present administration also inherited that kind of element. In any case, the person I mentioned that the Zamfara people that we held meetings with, the person they mentioned, whose name was mentioned, is in the government. If a person happens to come from Zamfara State, that's why people are knowledgeable about it. Now, what am I driving at? Government is sort of unaware of the fact that there are some mining going on that are not properly structured, properly licensed. What is lacking is the action. Remember, we cited instances whereby government are in a position, or government agencies are in a position to understand that there may be possibility of security breach or breaches. But whether the will, the desire to act is the problem. Look at this situation.
Why will the will or the desire not be there to act? Especially when lives are at stake.
Yeah, because some people are profiting from it. And these are people who are in powerful positions, who are, as long as there is insecurity, apart from possible share from ransoms obtained, they also do it partly also. We can't rule out the possibility. Remember I mentioned the issue of possible foreign interest. We cannot completely rule out the possibility of political consideration into this matter. The speaker, the president of National Assembly, the Senate, Senator Akpabio, saying, I think it was last month or so, that this thing is on the upsurge because of the forthcoming election, and that immediately after the election, you will see that there will be a downward trend. And we have seen it happen before in Nigeria. It shouldn't be so, because this is not the first time we are holding election in Nigeria. We should not use the life of people as an instrument to score political points. It's ungodly, it's inhuman, it's wicked, and it's stop need to be put to it.
Let's look at actions of Afenifere now. Your activities, especially since we've been having a surge in these incidents in Yoruba land. Yeah. What are those steps you've taken? I know you gave us an idea of what you do as a group. What are those, practical steps you have taken, either to state governors, either to the president, maybe security agencies? What are those steps you've taken to make sure Yoruba land, does not experience a huge downturn in its development?
Yeah, remember, sometimes about 2-3 years ago, when Are Onakakamfu, Iba Gani Adams, was interviewed, and with particular reference to Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, Sunday Igboho, he said that it's not only Sunday Igboho that he was in the Yoruba land with some power, some attribute to contain this kind of thing. That there are many warriors, to quote him, there are many warriors in Yoruba land. But the point is that these days, all powers are concentrated in government. Even Obas have very limited power, which is why their palaces are being invaded. Some of them are abducted. As many as about 30 Obas in Kwara State have had to vacate their palaces, living elsewhere. So meaning then, what I'm trying to say here is that the low side of power resides in government, basically. Now, Afenifere, as I said before, is a non-state actor. The furthest we can go is when we either got an information, see something, we should bring it to the attention of those who should act. We don't have the wherewithal. If we do, we cannot deploy it, because we did, it means that we are violating the rule of the land. And we normally do that. We've been doing this thing since I became the National Police Secretary in 2021. We're in 2026 now, quite some time. People can go into records and see whether through the press releases we issue or through our communique whenever we hold our meetings. We always draw attention to insecurity looming at that time, but now it has come. So, in short, but we do not just stop at issuing press statements or doing communicates. We normally pass information to those who we think, because it's not every details, everything that must be made into brought into the public glare. I mean, some details have to be passed on the ground. We do that, and our leaders normally try to reach out to those who are in the position of power.
But so far, do you think, what do you make of the demeanor of, those you've reached out to in government? Do you think they are willing to nip this issue or work towards eradicating or erasing this issue of insecurity completely in Nigeria?
The matter goes beyond the issue of willingness, whether they are willing. Because if they were, it's a question of rising up to the challenge. But they have, from what is happening now, they have not shown that they are. How do I put it? That they are serious about it. I want to say, yeah,